Hey everyone, welcome to our junior high online family experience. My name is Pastor Ethan and I'm so excited that you have joined us today. And I really hope that you're enjoying your Christmas holidays. I mean, the few days between Christmas Day and New Year's are probably some of my favorite days of the year. It's like the wind down of Christmas where you're working through, the turkey leftovers and desserts. You're looking forward to New Year's Eve and celebrating the end of 2020 and welcoming in 2021. It gives you some time to reflect on how you've grown over the last year, and it makes you think about what goals you want to set for yourself next year. In my house, it's just a couple calm and relaxing days to look back and reflect, and then look forward and plan. Maybe that doesn't sound exciting to you, but it's honestly some of my favorite moments of the year. And so today, we're gonna take some time and we're gonna look back once again to the very first Christmas as we conclude our 2-week series called The Gift. We are also going to have some friendly family competition, and then we're going to give you the opportunity to have some discussion questions with your family, and then we're going to launch you into a new week of daily devotionals. But before we jump in and get started, we want to hear from you. We want to stay connected and check in, especially in this season when there's not a whole lot of face-to-face opportunities. And so we have something called a connection card where we can do that. It's basically like signing our guest book and letting us know you were here. The connection card is found right on the main page of the LakePoint app. And so we would love if you would pull out your phone or your device and take the next 60 seconds to fill out the card. Thanks for completing the connection card and signing our guest book. Now, every week here at Junior High, we have some friendly family competition. And today, you and your family are going to do something that just might jeopardize the remainder of your Christmas holidays. Check it out. Okay, so Christmas is over, New Year's is on its way. You've had some good times with your family, you've enjoyed some laughs, and you maybe even had a few moments where no one was fighting, especially between your siblings. But today, we are going to do something a little dicey that just might jeopardize the remainder of your Christmas holidays. We are going to have a debate. A debate that's been happening all over social media the past few weeks. A debate that's been pulling people to polar opposites and really stretching relationships. A debate that has even led to some political unrest and has caused multiple all-out brawls. So, brace yourself. I'm just warning you about what's about to happen, okay? You are gonna move half of the people in your home on one side of the room and the other half to the other side of the room, and you're going to create 2 teams. And this is what you're going to debate. You're going to debate, should Christmas music be played after December 26th? One side is going to argue, yes, absolutely, 100%. Christmas music is life and needs to be played for as long as humanly possible. The other side is going to argue, no. Christmas music is just for Christmas. It needs to stop the day after Boxing Day when 12:01 a.m. strikes on December 27th. The Christmas music is banned. I know. like I said, this is risky to do because this is such a rampant issue in the world right now. So, pick a team, try and get an equal amount of people on each side, and then each team is going to get 60 seconds to try and convince the other team that they are wrong. So pause the video, pick your sides, and then let the debate begin. All right, congrats to your winning family's team. Now, I hope that you guys still like each other and it didn't end in an all-out brawl. I mean, Christmas music is a pretty touchy subject and it was risky having you do that, so I hope everyone still likes each other. Now, you might be asking, is there a prize for the winning team? Well, for the chance to win a prize, take a photo of your family participating together and post it in our LakePoint Junior High Facebook group. I'll put all the names in a draw, and you'll have the chance of winning a Tim Hortons gift card for students and a great parenting resource for parents. So pause the video, take 2 minutes to post the photo, and then join me back here on the video as we head into the final week of our series titled The Gift. We are in a 2-week series called The Gift. And we're looking at 3 different gifts that the wise men gave to Jesus the night he was born. But we're just going to narrow in and focus on 2 of those gifts. We know that when Jesus was born, there were wise men who were wealthy and incredibly educated and smart, and they traveled a long way to come and worship Jesus. We read about it in Matthew chapter 2. We read that the wise men, they saw a star, and so they follow the star, and it leads them to baby Jesus. And when they see Jesus, they bow down and they worship him. Then after they worship him, they open their treasure chest that they've brought with them, and they give him some unusual gifts. They give Jesus gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Last week we talked about frankincense. And we learned together that it represented Jesus as our high priest, the one who made an ultimate sacrifice for us and who represents us before God. We don't have enough time today to unpack the gift of myrrh, but it represented Jesus as a suffering servant. And today we're going to look at the gift of gold. Now, throughout history, gold has been known as a gift fit for a king. Gold was rare, it was hard to find, and it cost a lot of money. So it typically was used for those who were kings or rulers of a nation, people who had lots of power and lots of influence. And so when the wise men present Jesus with a gift of gold, it represented the kingship of Jesus, or it symbolized Jesus as a king. And so today we're going to look at 3 different responses that people had to Jesus as king. Now, before we do that, we're going to play a little bit of a game. What we're going to do is I'm going to show you some different images of kings, and you have to guess the name of the king. So let's go ahead and let's show the first king. Now, who is this? Yes, this is Simba. And if you think of Simba, what do you think of? Or what movie do you think of? You likely think of the movie called The Lion King. Okay, let's do another one. If you think about a big gorilla, who are you thinking of? You're thinking of King Kong. Yes. Okay, next one. If you think of a Whopper, a burger, you're gonna think of what fast food restaurant? Burger King. Yes. Okay, good. Okay, you guys are doing great. We're gonna do 2 more, and these 2 are for the parents in the room. Now, I want you to think about music, specifically the blues genre of music. Who are we thinking about? If you guessed B.B. King, You are right. Great job. Okay, last one. Keep thinking about music. Let's just switch to jazz instead of blues. A jazz king. Who are we thinking of? Well, if you guessed Nat King Cole, then you would be correct. Well, today, we're talking about Jesus as king. We're going to talk about a king like no other, a king that is the king of all other kings. Jesus, the supreme authority over all the kingdoms of the world. The entire cosmos, the entire universe is in the hands of King Jesus. He is a king like no other. And you see, the people were expecting a king to be born. But the problem is that the people around that time expected a king to be born in a palace surrounded by luxury and comfort. In our day, this king would be born and placed in a crib with purple velvet lining. He'd be wearing a Gucci onesie and he'd be rocking fresh and clean Nike Air Force Ones. No one expected the king to be born in poverty in a barn next to farm animals. They didn't expect the Savior, the Messiah, to be the son of a carpenter. No one expected Jesus to rub shoulders with the diseased, to hang out with the outcast, and to dine with well-known crooks. They never imagined a king who would choose uneducated fishermen and despised tax collectors and rebellious troublemakers to be his own disciples. No one ever imagined that a king would ride into town on a donkey of all creatures. They never imagined the king to stand on trial for a crime that he didn't even commit. No one ever imagined that an innocent king would be beaten, whipped, and hung on a torture instrument known as the cross. No one expected him to die the death that was only deserving of the worst criminals. No one would expect for the king to die a shameful death while people mocked and spit on him. No one expected or imagined that he would, 3 days later, when the women came to check on his tomb, no one expected the stone to be rolled away, and no one expected for him not to be there. No one expected that he would rise from the dead and sit on his throne beside God. This is a story like no other, about a king like no other. It's a pretty unusual Christmas story. And so I want to look at 3 responses that most people had when Jesus was born 2,000 years ago. 3 responses that, if we're honest, most people still have today. In fact, I'm guessing that if you have the courage to be honest enough, you actually might find yourself having one of these 3 responses to Jesus. And the first one we're going to look at today is the response of King Herod. King Herod didn't like the idea of Jesus as king. He wanted to guard and protect his throne and his crown, and when he heard that there might be a new king who might threaten his kingdom, he made an official order that every boy under the age of 2 would be put to death. He was so concerned with himself and what he ruled and reigned over that he felt threatened at the news of Jesus' birth. Now, when you recognized Jesus as king, I bet that wasn't your response. At least I hope your response wasn't to, send out an order for children to be killed. But you might be watching today and have a similar attitude as King Herod did. Your response to Jesus might be, I don't need all that God stuff. I'm doing fine on my own. In fact, I already have enough people telling me what I can and can't do, so I don't need anyone else to tell me what to do. I just want to live my life my own way. Don't tell me that some outdated book and some church and some uncool pastor is going to tell me how to live. I'm just doing fine on my own. I don't need Jesus to be the Lord of my life. Maybe that's where you're at today. Or maybe you'd be part of this second group and you'd identify with how they responded to Jesus as king. This second group is the response of the Jewish priests. And they didn't outright think, I don't need Jesus. They just dismissed him as king. And I find this so bizarre because these priests, they knew the scriptures inside and out. They knew that God was sending someone. They knew that there would be a ruler sent by God, born in Bethlehem. In fact, they were only 5 miles away from where Jesus was born, and they didn't show up to worship King Jesus. That's They're 6 miles from the church here to Wheatley, and they didn't show up. Why? Well, maybe they were tired that day. Maybe there was a scheduling conflict, or maybe they were expecting Jesus to show up in a different way, and so because their expectations weren't met, maybe they felt that Jesus wasn't fit to be their king. And I want to get really real with you for a minute, because I believe that most of us watching today respond to Jesus in this way, or at least have a similar attitude as the Jewish priests. You see, most of us watching today, we've been to church before. We've sang the songs. We've prayed. We've even experienced God in some way. We don't outright oppose Jesus. We just kind of dismiss him. And here's what I mean by that. Maybe a parent or a guardian has said to you, hey, let's gather together and watch church online, or let's do the interactive experience together. And you've said something along these lines. Nah, I don't really want to. Or maybe someone has said, hey, let's read a couple verses from the Bible. Would you like to learn more about Jesus through Scripture? Would you like to read the words that offer us life and freedom and hope? And maybe you said, no, today's pretty busy. Not right now. I've got a level that I've got to beat, or I'm just busy. Or maybe someone said, hey, would you like to be part of this incredible movement of sharing the love and grace and generosity of God with someone who needs hope this Christmas season? Do you want to go to our neighbor's house and give them a gift? Nah, I got to get downstairs and I got to play with my new Christmas presents. Maybe there are some of us watching today and you've tried praying and you've tried reading your Bible and you've given Jesus a shot, but he didn't respond. You couldn't feel him. He didn't give an answer to your prayer, and now you're just like, well, Jesus didn't show up in the way I thought he would, and I'm not really getting anything out of this, so I don't really see him king. I don't really see him as King of Kings. Or maybe you have a family member who's sick and you prayed that they would get better and they actually just kept getting worse. Or maybe you prayed that you would remember every answer on that quiz and you got like a 55%. You like barely passed. Or maybe you're feeling anxious and worried and scared and you keep asking Jesus to give you peace, but it's just not working. And so maybe your response is, I'm just going to pass on King Jesus. I feel like that's where so many of us are living. We have a very similar response to Jesus as King as the Jewish priests did. And then we have a third response, a response displayed by the wise men. They saw this bright star in the sky and they began to follow it. They dropped everything, their jobs, their wealth, their reputations, and they traveled across the desert to meet the newborn king. And so they arrive and they get off their camels and they see Mary and Joseph and the shepherds and then they see Jesus. And how do they respond? Well, the wise men, they bowed down and they worshiped Jesus as their king. The wise men responded in a way that communicated, you know what? It's not about me. It's not about how busy I am. It's not about what other people think about me. It's not about my stuff. It's not about my friends. It's not about what I want. And so with everything I am and with everything I have, I bow down and worship Jesus. That was their response. I think if Jesus was born today, maybe their response would be, the world is crazy right now. There's so many things I could be frustrated and upset about, but I choose to worship Jesus anyway. Maybe they would say, man, that turkey and that stuffing was amazing. My Christmas gifts were everything I wanted. I've got some time off school, and even though I want to kick back and relax and do nothing, I'm going to pick up my Bible and learn more about my King Jesus. I'm going to set some time aside and talk to him today. I'm going to tell someone about him so they can experience this hope and peace in a dark and anxious time. And so today, I want to ask you a question. What's your response to Jesus? Do you have the same response and attitude as King Herod, where you just feel like you're doing fine on your own and don't need Jesus? Are you like the Jewish priests who fully knew who Jesus was, but instead of embracing him, they just kind of dismissed him? Or are you, this Christmas, are you going to decide to put everything you're feeling about this season aside and recognize Jesus as your King and worship Him. And so today, as we wrap up this series, we're in this time where we can look back and reflect on 2020 and look forward to 2021. And I want to ask you another question. Do I recognize Jesus as King? Parents, this is where we are going to turn things over to you. In a moment, you'll see some questions on your screen. And so grab the remote and press pause for as long as you need to create meaningful discussions around the questions. Remember, these questions are just a guide, so feel free to rephrase them in a way that engages your student best. After you've had a meaningful discussion, press play and join me back on the video for some closing thoughts. Thanks for a great week at junior high, everyone. Remember to post in our junior high Facebook group your photo of your family participating today for the chance to win a prize. Just head to Facebook, search LakePoint Junior High, and request to join the group. If you aren't on Facebook, you can just email me your photo to ethan@lakepoint.church, and I'll make sure you get added into the draw. Now, to close our time this morning, take the next 2 minutes to pray together as a family, and then head to the LakePoint app to access our weekday devotionals that go along with the series. You'll find them in the Family Resources section. You can also find the link in the video description right below me. That'll take you directly to those daily devotionals. Have a wonderful week, friends. We'll see you next week.